Hello, welcome to my channel. I have a T2 model 1972 van from AK. I'm not that familiar with this brand, but I'm guessing they're fairly new to the model kit game, but I do know they have done basing and weathering supply for a little while. But either way, this is the first time I'm building up one of their kits. Even though the box is in English, this is a Spanish company. So let's get it opened up and see what's inside. A nice thick colour instruction booklet. We'll try that out in just a moment. We have loads of plastic, in fact there's over 170 parts, and at the bottom of the box we have the decal sheet. Right, let's have a quick look at the instruction sheet. We have both the sprue and the paint guide, followed by instructions covering 36 steps. Some of them cover alternates, like for example the light on top, you can have it with or without. We are advised to paint as we assemble, so we know where we stand with that. At the back we have 4 different colour schemes, along with 4 different decals to use. Despite the kit being in English, we don't have any English options available. We have one from the Netherlands, a couple from Germany, and one from Denmark. So if you're wanting an English option, you need to get creative. And I really could do with an English van for 70s diorama that's coming up, but that's a problem for future me to deal with. I've got all the parts laid out, and as you can see there's quite a lot, so I expect this kit to be very detailed. Right, it's time to get building. So I'll snip off the first parts as we're going to be building the engine. As per usual, those will need a little bit of clean up, even though once the bonnet goes on, it's very unlikely we'll see the engine again. Plastic cement is my glue of choice. It will weld both halves together and create a pretty solid bond. There are several parts to assemble, but it all comes under the first step. So far everything has tabs so they can be aligned up, and I always dry fit everything before adding glue. These parts don't have any names in the instructions, so I couldn't tell you what's what, but very slowly they're taking shape. Before moving on to the next step, I've got a new part to build up. Now I have some painting to do. There are 3 colours at this stage, black, grey and metal. So I'll paint the corresponding parts and then leave them to dry. I was tempted not to paint the grey parts, but I had to do it anyway to differentiate between the normal grey plastic. And now all these parts can be assembled. I used the glue very sparingly because it can remove the paint. So basically I'm finished off building the engine block. There's one part I didn't film because it was too fiddly and frustrating, but you can see the completed engine in the top left hand corner. And now I need to remove the base from the sprue and paint these 3 tubes, and they all need to be in grey. It doesn't need to be perfect because I'm never going to display it on the underside. The next 2 parts sort of interweave, which means it can be a bit of a pain to put together. The engine block needs feeding through the underside, but you've got connection points at both sides. I recommend dry fitting it first. There's another piece which goes on the front, which helps secure it in place. And there's also a flat piece at the back which helps to level it out. And then the framework can go into place, and there are several pegs to line this up with. Next we glue on the tail section of the exhaust, and that's painted to match the pieces on the frame. And the final part of stage 3 is to add a couple of braces at the back. These slot into place on the outside of the frame. Stage 4 is quite complicated and involves a lot of small parts. So off camera I'm going to cut these out, get them painted and glue them into place. And this is how it looks like once completed. I follow steps 5, 6 and 7 to the front part. I couldn't get the parts to fit perfectly, but hopefully once everything else is in place you won't see the mistakes. These are all the components to build up the wheels, and we've got 4 to do in total. And then we put them to one side for now. This is the unit which holds the fuel tank. You can see that it has a couple of indents underneath. These should be drilled all the way through, so I might as well do that myself. So once that's slotted into place, the pegs of the fuel tank have somewhere to go. And then last but not least, we have the inside of the boot, and this I've been told to paint in beige. And now we can return our attention to the wheels. First we need to insert these little connectors, and then I'm assuming I'm gluing all the wheels into place. Well, since there's no indication that these wheels are supposed to turn, I glue them. They're all a little bit wonky, but I've got a resolution for that. Before the glue has a chance to set, I turn it over and I apply a little bit of weight to hold the whole thing down. The front seats need to be raised, so we need to add a platform to do that, and that also includes a backing plate. Next, I go ahead and assemble and paint the seat. This is a left-hand facing vehicle, so the single seat goes to the left. I don't appear to have the option to switch it around, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Next, I glue into place the full-length seat, which has 4 legs, and then the 2-legged one rests against the back. Next, I had to build up a spare tyre. There were 2 on the sprue, so I did them both. So one drops into the slot, and the other one's a spare. The van colour did not get mentioned until assembly has been completed, so I jumped ahead of the curve and sprayed all the necessary colour white, which is the colour that I wanted. This will save me from doing a lot of pointless masking later on. So I've got the sliding door done, and this gets put to one side for now. The next step involved the gear stick and the foot pedals. After that I've got to put together the front section. This will slot just inside the bodywork. The light fittings have been painted silver and they've got the bulbs installed. Then I can line it up and slot it into place. Next I add into place the dashboard, but I want this vehicle to be in transit, so I picked out a driver. He's in 1940s get-up, but when you look through the window you won't really tell. Not only do I have to get this guy assembled, but I've got to keep checking with the vehicle, make sure it actually fits. And I can't install the steering wheel until the driver's in place. Here he is in his finished form. He does naturally sit a little bit too far forward, but with a little bit of glue I can put him exactly where I need him. But first I best paint him up. I stayed close to the box art for this guy, except I made the suit dark brown rather than dark grey. So he can now be glued into place and the steering wheel can be glued into his hands. Right, we can now start working on the shell of the van. First to go into place is the inner roofing, followed by a rear support as well as another inside panel. I kept these grey as they complemented the white, plus on the inside you'll probably not see them. Then I friction fit the square lights at the front. I didn't use glue because I didn't want them fogging up, and I also added in the rear view mirror. All the windows either have a silver or black trim to them, and since these are on the clear parts, it's easy to paint them by on the sprue. The hard part is trying to keep the line neat, and the main window can be glued into place. The single worst part of any vehicle kit is attaching the body to the base. After always a very tight fit, and it took me a while. Then the next step was to apply the VW logo to the front. Windscreen wipers are another tricky element. You have barely any point of contact, there's not much place for the glue to take hold. Then the final step for this stage is to apply the lights to the front. I used a drop of PVA for this because I want the glue to dry clear. Then the front bumper went on. I chose to keep this silver, although you can colour match it with the body. The front number plate has 2 possible locations, in the centre of the bumper or just above it. Moving on to the rear, I slot the back door into place and glue it shut. From now on there are a lot of options available on how you want to post your vehicle. The only problem is though, they are permanent, and because mine's going to be in motion on the road, I've added a driver and that's all I need to do. Although the instructions provide plenty of options if you want the doors to be open or what. Next I glue on my sliding door, fully closed of course. Then I assembled both the driver and passenger side door. This included the door handle, the wing mirror and the window. And it's at this point I hope nothing gets loose on the inside because it's all sealed in forever. And that's basically finished. So that's the 1 in 35 scale T2 model 1972 van. Now like I said earlier, I've kept this vanilla because all the decals are for European countries and there's nothing for the UK. So at some point I'm going to have to salvage some spares from another kit, but this will do for now. So I must say it's a very detailed kit with very few problems. The only real downside with having so much detail is that you're never going to see most of it, but for the plus side, it gives you many options for portability. So hopefully we'll see this guy again in a future diorama. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.